Hey everyone, welcome back to the MHP Show podcast. I am your host, Derek Vickers. We talk about mobile home parks, trailer parks, or if you want to get really, really sophisticated, we can call them manufactured housing communities. We talk about all that stuff on this show, and we have people on. We have a great time. We have fun and talk about. Sometimes we get into the nitty gritty. We talk about raising capital. We talk about just crazy stuff that happens because when you own a mobile home park, inevitable crazy things happen. And if I remember to tell you, we had a little crazy story come across at the end. And so I'm sure John, my guest today, when I introduce him, probably has some crazy stories as well. But first, I wanted to mention, if you are a 7 and 8 figure entrepreneur, you own a business, you're out there every day crushing it and killing it, you're dealing with employees and stuff, and you're like, man, I want to invest in real estate. I don't know how. And trailer parks, mobile home parks sounds great. Well, we have an ebook at victorycapital.com where you can actually go check that out. And we give you a simple, basic guideline of what this business is all about. And so if you go to victorycapital.com, that's victory, VICK, like my last name, and you should check that out. And I would love to get on the call with you if you're interested in learning more about what we do at Victory Capital. Also, you can check out our Facebook group. It's Mobile Home Park Investing Pros. I post stuff there weekly. It's a cool group and a fun group to be a part of. So check that out. It's Mobile Home Park Investing Pros. So now we're going to get into the show. I've got Mr. John Evans with me today with Six Rock Properties. How you doing, John?
Pretty good. Pretty good.
Yeah. It's nice to have you on the show. I know we were trying to get on last week and had some issues, but that was my fault. But we're on today.
Yeah, that's no problem. It was partially my fault, probably. But
no, it's all good, man. It's all good. So, I have a little bio here on you, but I'd love to hear, I know you were in another business before, so just give us a little bit about kind of your background and how you got into this business.
Yeah, I basically just didn't go to college. I just went to work, kind of the typical blue collar family, went to work in the gas and oil industry. And in that business, you can make a decent living with no education really. But at the end of the day, you're still W-2, you're still just a number, on their screen, and you're not going to secure, a solid future. So that was always in the back of my mind, but so I spent 2 decades in that business.
Hey, and I got to ask you something about that. So thanks for saying that. I'm glad you brought that up. Like, you didn't go to college. So I want to talk about that a little bit because I went to college and I learned how to party in college.
Yeah.
That was the basis of what I learned. I was worried about partying and girls the whole time. And, it just wasn't good for me. Right. And, I've turned out okay. So, what would you say to someone, there's still a consensus of America. It's like, oh my God, I got to go to college. Like, what would you say?
Well, first of all, I didn't go to college, but I did go to a few college parties. So.
Oh, of course you did. Of course you did.
No, but if there's something that you just really, you just really have to pursue and you need that to get into it, then yes. But just as a random thought, yeah, I need to go to college for this. I would say probably not. If you're going to, have a master's in finance or, some kind of really high level, maybe. But, like you said, you still don't need it, in order to be successful, but people will look at you differently. But no, it's not a requirement, but it just depends.
Yeah. Yeah. Because how much would you say your portfolio is worth?
Probably, I don't know, maybe 8 million, maybe.
Yeah. So look, I know people that went to college that they're in hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt.
Yeah.
And, they can't even think with going out and buying a property. So that just goes to show you something. And funny thing about college parties, this is just totally random and doesn't freaking mean anything, but it's just kind of funny. So when we were in high school, I don't know, you know where James Madison University is? So
not off.
It's in Virginia.
But yeah.
So we used to on the weekends, we would just go out and go party hop and go into any random party, a bunch of high school kids, sophomores, juniors, and seniors. And we would walk into parties and people would always be like, who are these dudes here? And we would act all cool and everything. But it was funny because I think a couple times we got caught and they figured out we were in high school and they're like, you guys got to leave, dude. Like, we don't even know you, but it's just funny.
Yeah.
Anyways, but yeah, I agree with you, dude. I think college is overrated. Look, if you're gonna go and build relationships, you're gonna go to Harvard Law and hang out with, you know, Vivek Ramaswamy and JD Vance.
Yeah.
Or I don't think JD went there, but if you're gonna go to someplace like that and build relationships with like the next world leaders, okay, that might be valuable.
Yeah.
If you're gonna go and, you know, get loaded on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and maybe the other days too, I don't know if that's such a good idea.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it's a tool. You know, it's if you're going for the right reasons, then probably yes. But you know, if not, then you're wasting your time and you're digging a hole with debt, like you said. You know.
Yeah, totally. So back to your story before we got on. You know, I got some nostalgia from my, you know, partying days back in high school. I'll let you continue with your story there.
Well, yeah, I had one of my uncles. He had several rental houses, and so I just had the thought, like everybody, well, I'll buy a single family home and rent it, and then buy more and just kind of build that. But in the back of my mind, I just knew it's like he never spoke that highly of it, you know, and it would take forever to buy that many houses, buying them one at a time, you know. And so I just thought, you know, well, you know, a trailer park, you're getting multiple, and I called it a trailer park then, but you're getting multiple units at one time. And so I would, you know, I would ask people what they thought, of course, you know, which I wouldn't recommend doing because everybody said, now, you don't want to buy a trailer park. Why would you do that? You know, people and so on. So I kind of put it in the back of my head because everybody said not to, you know, which is wrong. But so I'm driving to work one day and I see a sign in the yard of this trailer park, you know. So I called the sign, and the realtor put us in touch with the owner. And long story short, he ended up owner financing it to me, and it was right beside where I was working at. So, and it was a small deal, but it was direct bill.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was fairly easy to manage, you know, and it was smaller. So that was kind of me sticking my toe in the water, you know. So
yeah. And how did you even find out about trailer parks? Did you like live? I lived around trailer parks. I grew up with friends that lived in trailer parks, and I never thought about like investing in them. But how did you find out about them?
Well, like you said, I had friends that lived in them, and my grandparents lived in a trailer. They didn't live in a park, but they had a mobile home. And remember back in the day, Craigslist. I actually found one for a trailer park for sale on Craigslist, and that's what
did you close on that?
No, I that was back when I was asking, you know, opinions of people that had never done it, you know, and everybody was saying no. So, and you know, maybe I wasn't ready, maybe I was too young, I don't know, but
yeah, I know, like even where I grew up, there's great people where I grew up, but like people that haven't done shit love to give their opinions on stuff they haven't done.
Yeah.
And I used to even, you know, like when I was younger, it was just like, hey, somebody that's in seemingly more authority than me. Oh, yeah, then we should listen to that advice. But not really. Like, why would I take financial advice from somebody who makes, you know, whatever a year?
Yeah.
Like, I know that's, you know, if they make $100,000 a year, like, that's not where I want to go. Like, if you make $25,000 a year and you want to get to 100, you know, maybe listen to that guy.
Yeah.
But sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying, I do that now respectfully. If I need, you know, if I want to know something, first I kind of see where they are before I, you know, would ask questions, you know, but like I said, I do it respectfully, but you know.
Yeah. So you didn't buy the park on Craigslist, which I'm sure the park that's listed on Craigslist, like that wouldn't happen today. I doubt you would find one of those. When was that?
That's probably been 20 years ago, probably.
Really?
Yeah, probably.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, today Craigslist is like, you know, sometimes our team will post homes on Craigslist and the responses we get from Craigslist and the quality is like, pretty terrible.
I know. Funny thing is though, the first park that I did buy, I actually sold it on Craigslist.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah. The guy, I sold it on Craigslist, and the guy it's funny, but the guy that, I'll just kind of lead this into a story, but the guy that bought it, he sold Kirby vacuum cleaners, which I didn't know people still did that, but
wow.
So so when we're closing, I think it was the day, I don't remember if it was the day before or the day of, But he showed up at the property and he wanted to kind of, do a walkthrough and look at, because I own some of the homes, and he wanted to walk in and look at the homes. And he had a property manager with him because he owned a lot of condos and other properties. Well, I'm driving this old junky car, for work. And I show up in like work clothes, and he pulls up, and he's dressed pretty well. And he gets out of a BMW i8, which I didn't know what it was.
Wow.
And by the
way, just a note for the listeners, like, dude, if you're going to look at a park, don't fucking show up in a BMW i8 and dress nice in a suit. Like, borrow your dad's truck or something, and like, dress just like a normal person, dude. Don't be a dick, right?
Yeah, I'm sure
Sorry,
they were probably throwing rocks at him when he left. But anyhow, the door, basically when you open the door, goes up. It's like it's like $150,000 car.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and his property manager, she's driving like a convertible Mercedes. She's got lots of jewelry and all fixed up,
Oh, wow.
The first home we walk into, this guy Jerry lived there. He lived by himself, and he delivered Chinese takeout. And he lived by himself, but he was a little bit slow. So we walk into his living room, and he's got a full-size female mannequin in his living room, and nobody said anything. I didn't even know it was there. So we just everybody went on their way. But long story short, he bought the park. He just pulled out his check, wrote me a check, and bought it.
Wow.
That was
so like, how did you even do the title work and stuff on that?
Well, we title company, but I'm saying he just wrote a check, for the amount.
Yeah.
But it was a legitimate closing at the title company.
Yeah. This is like, this would be a great like clickbait, like man closes trailer park on Craigslist, makes millions.
Yeah.
Click the link.
Yeah. And I did the second one was the same way. It was a shorter timeline, but I'm just driving through parks, just looking at parks, and he had a bandit sign in the yard with a marker, just wrote for sale.
That's
I knocked
crazy,
on somebody's door, and they told me where he lived. I drove to his house, and we kind of hashed it out right there. And it was the same deal. It was owner finance, and I turned around and sold it on Craigslist, of all places.
Wow. How much did you make on those?
The first one I made about 100, and the second one was somewhere around 40 grand.
Yeah. And how long?
The first one I owned it for maybe about a year, or close to it.
Yeah. What'd you pay for it?
I paid $250 for it.
Yeah. So you were like, yeah, dude, I'll take that.
Yeah. But at the time it was kind of a larger deal for me at the time. That was 10 years.
Course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that was my first kind of entry into the business.
Yeah. I think maybe there is in some places, but seeing a for sale by owner sign in the front of a park these days.
Yeah. I don't know about.
Everybody just gets hit up so much by brokers and stuff. And if somebody wants to sell, someone's probably talked to them, and they're gonna like list it or something or whatever. But maybe you can find that like rebel guy who is like, I'm not gonna work with any broker or anything, and maybe they'll do that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
When I cold called some owners, which I'm in the Southeast, and they're just a different type of person than a lot of northern style, but you can still get a deal just by bonding with the seller. I think.
I agree. 1,000%. I got a couple deals that I've been working on for a while, and the sellers get hit up all the time.
Yeah.
And we're close on a couple of these deals because I just go and talk to them, and I show up in person. Most people don't show up in person, but I'm close to some of these deals, and I like going there anyways.
Yeah. The other thing is when I first started, learning cold calling, I just thought it was just about sheer volume, which, it still kind of is. But if you would just concentrate more on a quality conversation than just hitting, 10 or 20 calls or however many, I think you're better off. Because now, when I call mom and pop, I don't just say, hey, you want to sell your park? I just try and ease into a conversation about the area, the economy, another property, or something else instead of just hitting them right off the bat,
Yeah. Yeah. Because you have to differentiate yourself now to a degree. I think, quantity is important. Like you should still do quantity.
Oh yeah.
But John is right. When you got to have quality conversations with people, because if I get calls from VAs that are like, they're terrible.
Yeah.
Like, let's just call it what it is. They're terrible. And they're like, do you want to sell property located at whatever? I'm like, no. Some of them are just like, okay, bye.
I know some people, I mean, you might, but they have like a whole cold calling team that's all they do. Then I just wonder, how much value are you getting from that? I don't know. But
Yeah, look, I'm of the belief that, like, hey, if I'm gonna put enough, action and energy in the universe, I'm gonna get
yeah,
something back.
yeah,
But it also, I think, with what we've learned, and we used VAs in the insurance business. We've used them some for calling, and there's typically a diminishing return. Like,
yeah,
just because you have one VA and they may get you some leads. So, like, in the insurance business, we did this. We had a VA, and then I hired like 6 of them. I'm like, man, I'm gonna just rip everybody apart. I'm gonna hire 6 of these people and just have them blast everybody. And there was a diminishing return on it. And
yeah,
we've actually found that to be true in parks and calling too. It's like you can get 1, maybe 2 to call, but you got to train them,
yeah,
right? So when they call John, they don't sound like an idiot,
yeah,
like most of them do when they call me. Like, yeah, I think they're probably just wasting their money, but I don't know why I got off on that tangent. But VAs do work. I know people that use them, but I just think that there's a diminishing return on however many you have.
yeah,
Yeah. So, we were talking about like building rapport and things with the seller and differentiating yourself.
yeah,
I would like to dive into this topic a little bit more because I think it's important. I think a lot of people listening are like, man, is it still a good time to get in the business? Is it like, it's harder to find deals to a degree, right? But honestly, I think, and I want to get your opinion on this too, John. It's like the interest rate environment shifted it. So, like, and I've talked about this on here before. It's like in 2021, we could make 80 out of 100 deals work. Now we can make 5 out of 100
yeah,
work. So it just shifted, like, what how many deals that actually work and seller pricing and all that. But like, hey, if interest rates were at 0 right now, would you be buying at some of the prices that you're getting from sellers? You
yeah.
might. You might. So, what's your opinion on that?
Well, I mean, and sometimes you just have to kind of gauge the seller's motivation. I mean, a lot of times they're just, fishing for a price, So, I mean, if they're actually ready to sell, then maybe they should at least understand, how that affects us. But also, kind of, well, like I said, the first 2 deals I bought were owner finance, and I've had several other deals since then.
Yeah.
We're working on 2 deals right now that are owner finance. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I think there's still always a way to get it done. Yeah, it might slow it down, but you could at least use that time to, like we said, to bond with them, and kind of throw those discussions out there to them, the interest rates. I'm sure that mom and pop is still somewhat aware how it affects the business, so.
Yeah. I mean, some of them I think a lot of them are a lot smarter than they would maybe lead you to believe.
Yeah,
Like we were on a call with a seller the other day, and I don't know. I just feel like maybe she was playing a little whatever, but then she starts talking about cap rates and this and that, and seemed like a little bit knowledgeable.
yeah,
And so I think the sellers are smart. Like they're looking online. Now, granted, they probably don't look at the right comps. They see
yeah,
that the 5-star community was purchased by Apollo or somebody for a 4 cap, and they think that their 20-lot park that's all park-owned homes can be sold at a 4 cap.
yeah.
It doesn't work.
Yeah, and I've had several, owners ask me just flat out what my opinion was on the valuations, and I generally don't like to be the first one to throw the number out,
I know.
but
I know.
but I at least try and tell them, what a other comparable park has sold for. That way, I'm not the guy that's known to be, well, I don't want to sell to him. He's lowballing or whatever. I at least want to throw something out that's fair,
Yeah. Yeah. And what I do a lot of times is like, hey, we just closed on this park in Orlando for this. We just bought this one here for this number. We bought this one here for this number. Like the market you're in, John, is worse. Obviously, they know that. This is what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but if you're listening to this, I'll ask John this question. Do you think it's still a good time to get in this business?
I mean, yeah, I would say yes. I mean, yeah, like, a lot of people say deals are harder to come by, but I mean, there's more. If you look at it this way, there's more wholesalers, there's more brokers, there's more people that at least have a connection to a deal as opposed to just all strictly cold calling. So there's still deals out there. You just might have to look a little harder, but I still think it's a good time.
Yeah, I agree
But
because, even there were, in 2020 when I got into the business, it was like, man, I should have got in, 2016.
yeah,
And, the person that doesn't get in today is going to look up and it's going to be 2030 and they'll be like,
yeah,
damn, I should have gotten in 2025.
yeah,
So if you're going to get in, and look, like, I talk to, fund managers and things around the business that work with multifamily operators and others. And it's the same thing. I'm like, yeah, we closed 4 deals last year. That's it. None in 2023 and a bunch in 2022 and 2021. But
yeah,
we're not the only ones,
yeah,
So it's like it's sort of a, real estate industry wide that the closings have been down. I even talked to wholesalers. They say that, they're obviously not making the fees that they were making.
yeah.
I wouldn't get down about it.
Yeah, I still think it's still good. It's just, I mean, how bad do you want to do it? I mean, if you want to do it bad enough, you'll find a way.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, I mean, I think when I got into the business in 2020, I think a lot of people would have said, "Oh, it's kind of late. It's not to get in." But we built up a lot of stuff. We bought a
Yeah,
lot of stuff,
yeah,
so it can be done if you just make the decision. And that's what people always ask me, what I did, and it was really just making the decision. That's like, hey, this is what I want to do. I go
yeah.
buy these assets, and I'm going to start calling and finding leads and figuring it out.
Yeah, and I would also say, like we said earlier, you want to find people that are doing it, and people that you can ask opinions or even mentorships and all this stuff, and then they can lead you in the right direction. When I bought my first park, I didn't know anything. I didn't know about the boot camps, which I don't think there was. Frank and Dave probably had theirs, but I didn't know about it. I didn't know
Yeah.
about Pico. I didn't know about any of this stuff. And I just was kind of going solo on my own.
Yeah.
If I would have really reached out to people, I could have made it a lot farther, but
Yeah. Yeah. And even me too. Like when I started, I didn't reach out to as much people as I should have
yeah,
on stuff.
yeah,
And, you should do that
yeah.
if you're new. So,
I mean, that's really the only mistake I would say I made is just trying to really do it alone and not build up a network,
yeah.
If you can really surround yourself with those people, you can make a lot happen.
Yeah. And look, I did the same thing when I first started. I had not that much money at all. So I was literally looking for a deal that I could put like 50 grand down on for finance.
Yeah.
And in the market that I was looking, I'm in Orlando. It just wasn't going to happen in 2020, even on that. So I was looking for a unicorn deal, and I would make offers, and I had good deals, good seller financing deals, but I needed to put like 40% down. Still would have been a good deal, but I didn't have that. And so like, if you're doing deals based on the money that you have and not partnering up, I think you're doing yourself a disservice.
Yeah.
Because if you're just looking for sub 2 deals or 0% down deals, you're going to miss a lot of deals that you wish you should have bought.
Yeah, that was one of my biggest mistakes was I was just looking for deals that I could afford or that was in my, little tiny little area instead of concentrating on the deal itself. I was just looking at pricing,
Yeah.
I was park that was in the millions and that's too much. I don't have that. Instead of actually underwriting and seeing what it could be, I was just looking at all these smaller ones. So
yeah. And I think too, another point is like real estate, you need to be like forward thinking.
yeah.
I remember when I was new in this business, I was underwriting deals. I knew some people. I knew a guy that was well known in the business. He's still a good friend of mine today. And I sent him a deal in Largo, Florida. You know where Largo is?
Yeah.
It's a freaking sick market, ridiculous market. Like anywhere you buy in Largo, you're going to be like on a main stretch.
Yeah.
And in 2020, I sent him this deal, and I'm like, I kind of like this deal. It's a great freaking location. $60,000 a pad. I thought it was a little expensive even then too, because I was listening to someone that had information that was back, right?
Yeah.
It was behind, and he was like, "Oh man, you can't buy that. It seems like a covered land play." But now I'm like 60 fucking a pad in Largo. I'd kill to pay that for it right now. And so that was actually a good deal, but because I was getting the wrong information, it wasn't, right? So I would also say that you should look at, like I guess where, how far the person is like in their thinking, right? I talked to a
Yeah.
guy, I forget the guy's name. I actually met him in Starbucks. I happened to be in a Starbucks. I was talking about mobile home parks with somebody, and this guy was like, "Hey, man," I can't think of this guy's name, but he was like, "Hey, dude, I actually teach people how to do this." I'm like, "Oh, it's freaking awesome, dude! Like, what's your website and whatnot?" And he was like, "Yeah, you can't buy anything in Florida. Like, the lot rents will never go over $500 in Florida." And I'm like, "That's false information, because there's like, we've got 20 parks in Florida that have higher than $500 lot rent." So it's not like this guy was dumb and didn't know the business. He just was like,
Yeah.
you get what I'm trying to say, right? So
Yeah.
and that's why I even think now that some of this stuff that maybe I'm getting in that old dog kind of mentality, like maybe
Yeah.
I should be buying this more expensive stuff. So I
Yeah.
think about that stuff sometimes.
Yeah. I think that too. It just how far, will it stretch? But
That's
it's all,
true.
all about the market
Yeah.
location, just like any other piece of real estate. It's location.
Yeah, right. But and two, like if you look at, and I talked to some multifamily guys, and I was like, I forget, I don't know how much stuff in Tampa's trading a door, maybe 300,000 a door or more, maybe more. And I asked them if they ever thought that shit was going to be $300,000 a door. And they're like, hell no, we didn't. Like, we were buying stuff at 70. We never thought it was going to be at 300,000.
Yeah.
Right. So, they keep printing money. I don't see that stopping anytime soon.
No.
And the inflation is supposedly what it is, if you believe what the government puts out. But, that's up for debate.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think there's going to be appreciation. I mean, in rent growth, like it could stall a little bit, but I think overall you're going to see a steady
Yeah.
increase. Do you agree with that?
Oh yeah. That's going to be a steady increase, I think, for sure.
Yeah.
For
But what about what the government tells us inflation is? Do you
Oh,
agree with that
I'm sure
number?
it's all true.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
totally. Yeah, I definitely, in the jobs report, I definitely think that that's all true for sure. I don't get sometimes that, like, I talk to like just people around businesses and stuff, and they're like, "Oh yeah, you can't watch the mainstream news; it's BS." And you're right. Like, I agree with you. But then they get these job report numbers and they believe those, and I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, it's kind of
Yeah, you just kind of, some people say you watch the news for confirmation, not information. You watch the channels that you like and you believe in, and you pick out all the details that you like, and well, that's true, but that's wrong. That's just the
yeah.
way psychology is, I guess. But
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I agree with that. And, hopefully, I mean, one of the things I talk about on this show, and I love getting people's opinion on, is like, hey, going, moving forward, like, some kind of more regulation on our business could hurt it. If there came a national rent control or something, like, that wouldn't be good. Everybody's net worth would plummet overnight, like literally. Do you have any concerns with that?
I mean, yeah, I mean, I don't know how big of a target we are, since we're such a tiny little number, that nobody really cares about. But I don't know about national, but definitely, at the local levels, they may, or state, I don't know, but that's definitely something that I think about. But we of course raise the rent, but we do it in small increments after we've done not all, but a lot of CapEx.
Yeah, yeah,
We buy a park, and if the roads are trashed, we pave the roads before we even increase the rent. So at least that's kind of our, if we have to go to battle, that's, we can say these are the things that we've done.
Right. Yeah, and I think too, like, the interesting thing about some of the properties that we bought, like, the tenants know they got it good.
Yeah.
Especially if their friend lives next door and they're paying 800 and they're paying 400 here.
Yeah.
They know. They're like, okay, we know the rent's going to go up. Like, we know we're paying less. Like, that's what we found is the case, that like people expect it because they're,
Yeah.
all the other parks have went up. Right.
Yeah.
And it has to. Right. And I don't know why people, like, I think it's because all the NPR articles that
Yeah.
people are like, oh, we can't talk about raising the rent. We go in and do this. Like, everybody goes in and raises the rent. Like, let's be honest. Like, everybody goes in and does it. Right. But we provide value in return.
Yeah.
And I think that's super important. And I think everybody that goes in and raises rents gives some kind of value. Right. And, I just think it's just interesting. It's just part of the business model, and it has to happen for these things to exist moving forward. Otherwise, they're not going to exist. and we couldn't buy them. And Susie and Johnny would let their parks rot
Yeah.
until they got shut down.
I think that's a hard sell, trying to sell them on the fact that if we don't raise the rent, the park is going to be redeveloped. You know, it's kind of
Definitely a hard sell.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying that, yeah, they assume we're just evil landlords and we just come in and raise the rent for no reason. But yeah, the reality is if they never raise the rent, the property will be redeveloped. I mean, that's
Yeah, and I mean, we've seen residents be more appreciative, right? Especially if we deliver not only a cleaner and safer park, but also if the well water smells like sulfur, we go and fix it.
Yeah.
Like we don't just not, right? Or if there's something, like we're not going to go band-aid it like the original seller does, because they don't want to spend $2,000. They want to spend $300 and put tape around it.
Yeah.
Right. And tenants actually, they love that, and actually getting responded to and being heard, I think, is something that people don't think about and talk about. But that is it also delivering service to the residents.
I mean, I feel like across the board, we have a pretty good review from tenants. I mean, you're never going to make everybody happy, but I think it's still, like you said, it's well received,
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Yeah, you're never going to make everybody happy. And, there's always going to be people. We had a guy one time that first park we bought, we paved the roads. It was $45,000 to pave the roads. That same road would probably be like $90,000 to pave today, if not more. 2 inches of asphalt. I know, maybe $100,000 to pave that today. This guy was drunk one night and on pills, so the tenants say. And I got a video where he had his old Bronco, and he's freaking just burning out on the new asphalt.
Yeah.
It's like, come on, dude. What can you do for that guy?
Somebody sent you a video of it, you said?
Yes. That's just pissed me off.
Where is this tenant now?
The funny thing, and this guy threatened to kill me one time.
Did he? I think I heard you mention that before.
This guy threatened to kill me, and he actually still lives there. He's a great freaking tenant. I don't know what happened to him. I don't know what happened. Pays on time. Don't really hear a peep out of him anymore. And we haven't heard a peep out of him for 4 years. So, guys, I'll tell you, some people can change.
Yeah.
Or just keep it in the house so we don't see it.
Yeah.
I know you got some wild stories. Give me something.
Yeah. Well, okay. Another park we bought. We already owned 2 other communities in that same market. So, and I already was kind of familiar with this property, but I have a team that I work with, and they had seen the property. I haven't even seen the property until the day after we closed. So I fly up there. It's in North Carolina. I fly up there, and the next day we go on site, and so we have our rent roll and our home inventory. Which ones are park owned, which are tenant owned, and that list wasn't actually true. So
imagine that. Where did you get that list from? The seller?
Yeah,
of course.
So we go to this one home that was supposed to have been a vacant park-owned home, and there's people inside the house just laying on the couch, and it was kind of cold that day, laying on the couch and blankets and all that. And we told them, hey, we was telling them a story. We said, hey, we're about to start tearing this house down. We're going to demo this house. You guys got to get out. Just trying to get them out, And they had hot wired the power.
Yeah.
2 pieces of wire shoved in the pole.
We at that first park, these guys had they had like butter knives. The top is cut off of butter knives and stuck in there. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah. They just had some really thick wire kind of bent and shoved in there. But I mean, they had like washer, dryer, refrigerator. They had the house was stocked.
Wow.
And everybody rode bicycles around. And I swear I have a picture of this girl.
Are you talking about my first park, John? Are you talking about my first park?
Might have been.
Dude, it sounds just like
it. But they were having barrel fires in the streets at night, like the big metal barrel drums. They were having fires in the barrels. They were ride bicycles, and this girl had a mohawk, and she carried around a big knife, like a 2-foot knife, like it was something out of Mad Max, as we called it. Because it was a whole gang of them. There was like 4 homes where squatters were in, and they were like ruling the park,
Wow.
So we got the cops there to try and get them out. But the cops, he said, you just took over. Nobody has leases. You're going to have to file an eviction. I hate to tell you that, But luckily, the owner, which he didn't, we bought it from a wholesaler. So I didn't know the owner. We'd never met. So he told us he was the owner. He just sold the park. And he pulls up in his pickup truck and he's about 90 years old, wearing overalls and a walking cane, you know. But he vouched for us. He said, no, I've never seen those people. They must have just moved in. So the cop said, okay, well, we'll give them 24 hours to get out. So luckily we got them out quickly that way, you know, which we came back the next day. They were still there. They hadn't made an attempt to get out, but the cops came back and we were able to get everybody out. So,
yeah. Look, I mean, I just got my hair cut, so you can't see the gray hairs. Okay. And I shaved my beard, so there's no gray on the beard right now. But it's probably some of these squatters that I dealt with in that first park that gave me that, because these guys just pissed me off so bad. And look, I understand that people need a place to live, but when you're doing drugs out of there and causing a problem in the park, and you've got prostitutes coming and staying at your house, like, I've got zero sympathy for you, bro. None. Right. And so it's get out by any means necessary. And the people that usually squat, like, I know in California they make concessions for squatters, but I've never met a squatter that was like a good, legitimate person.
Well, that was the other part of the story. There was really bad drugs. They're trafficking drugs. There was people coming in and out buying drugs all night. And the other residents, the decent people in the park, you know, approached us and reached out to us for help, you know. So when we got them out, the rest of the park, everybody was happy, you know. So
yeah, I think you're talking about Sunshine right now, John. Are you talking about Sunshine? My God, it sounds just like it. Yeah, and look, I'm telling you, dude. Like, so if we were doing deals in California, I don't know exactly how the laws would be, but
I don't know.
But how do you do that when you have a whole park of the tenants? Like, hey, help us get these people out. And you can't do it. Like,
yeah, that was, I don't know how you would do it.
That's just wild to me.
Yeah, like you said, if it was just a decent person that needed somewhere to stay, you know, it would have been, you know, we could have tried to make something work somehow. But
totally. And I love helping people, but like the people that are just like hand out, like non-productive. Like, you know, I think that's where we've ran into problems in the country. And dang it, I knew we were going to get onto something here. This is where we've ran into problems in the country, because we're rewarding people that don't do anything, and we're punishing people that are super productive and providing jobs for people and things like that. We punish those people. We demonize those people. We demonize them as capitalists, and in the movies and things they get demonized. And look, there's crony capitalists. Don't get me wrong. Like, there's definitely some sketchy people that do some wild stuff that's definitely unethical and not right. I get that. But a majority of the entrepreneurs and business owners out there are really, like, they're good people. Like, you do have to have some kind of special nerve to be an entrepreneur. And I feel like those people should be rewarded and not punished, because, and you know, someone else doesn't do anything and they get rewarded.
Yeah, that's the thing. We actually bought the property. We owned it. You know, they just showed up with drugs and having parties at night, you know. They didn't own it. We owned it, you know.
Yeah. We would have joined the party back in the day, wouldn't we?
Yeah, it was some pretty crazy parties they were having, but yeah.
Yeah. I'm sure. So what's kind of like, are you buying more right now?
Yeah, I haven't closed on anything, this year, which it's only January, but we've got a few deals under contract that look pretty good.
Yeah.
In a diligence phase, but yeah, we're buying.
How'd you find those deals?
A little bit of everything. One of the deals is from a broker, and the others are just from cold calling, just kind of building rapport with the sellers, you know, over time.
Do you do most of the cold calling?
Yeah, I do all of it. But
yeah, nice.
It takes up time, but
it does.
That's kind of been my side of the business, is just kind of the scout, you know, just finding the deals. So that's kind of what I like to do. But
yeah, look, I've always, that's, you know, I got good at like hunting deals, and that was just from the insurance business. I had to hunt business all the time, so I know how to do it, and I'm persistent, and I can do that. So yeah, I'm really good at that. Some people actually aren't, you know, and you can provide a lot of value. Like, if you're new in the business and you're like, man, I want to get in, but don't know how to provide value. I mean, damn, if you bring me a good deal in my buying criteria,
Yeah.
And you're like, hey, Derek, something can be worked out, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's basically how I got in. I mean,
Same.
seriously. Yeah. I just found deals.
Yeah. I mean, that's valuable. I mean, especially right now.
Yeah.
If I would imagine if you've got a deal in John's backyard that fits his criteria, then, I think you would probably work something out. You know what I mean? There's probably something there.
Yeah.
So what do you got? Like, are you looking, do you still have a 9 to 5 job now?
No, for the last couple of years, I've been part-time. It's kind of hard to describe, but like when I say part-time, if I'm working, it's 80 hours a week, but it might be for 3 weeks and then I might be off for a whole month.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, it's kind of different. We just do like little projects. And so in between that's when I would kind of find deals, because I would have a month, with nothing to do. So that's what I would do.
Yeah.
So, but this year, I don't think I'm going to go back. I think I've got enough in the pipeline and enough cash flow that I'm going to do it this time and not go back.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. What would you say to someone like that, has a 9 to 5 job? They want to get into this business or even just real estate and start building wealth. Like, if they don't have that opportunity that you had, like, how would you say like they should go about their day to get into the business? And is it possible if they physically have to be at work every day?
I think so. Yeah, it depends. There's a few different ways. I mean, like you said, you could find a deal and you could take it to an operator, and you could even just either get a fee if you just wanted to, a fee, or you could say, well, I'd rather roll that into equity and you could own a piece of that deal. I would really vet the operator, but I mean, that's definitely one way you could do it. If you're someone that's busy and you have some cash, you could always invest passively, or
Yeah.
if you found a deal close to home,
Yeah.
There's multiple ways,
Yeah, and I mean, I think it all starts with with the intention and like really wanting to do it. I know it gets a little airy fairy with intention, but like if you're like, I'm gonna freaking do this.
Yeah.
You're gonna figure out a way. Like when I was working a 9 to 5, I said, I'm gonna do that. This is what I'm doing. It was a decision, like a real decision, not a BS decision that wasn't like I said, I'm doing this.
Yeah.
And I didn't even have to make a lot of calls to find deals. I just was there and I was getting stuff.
Yeah, that was one of my kind of mistakes. Is when I started, I just was kind of doing it on the side, which I mean, I guess I had to do it that way, but I stayed that way for too long, where it was just kind of something I did on the side, and the sooner that you can put it at the front of your attention, the faster you can really grow. But like you said, if you're going to do it, then do it. If not, I would just forget about it, because it really takes some effort to get there,
Yeah. Yeah, it does. It does, but you can get there. And I mean, I think, unfortunately in today's society, we've got, I made a post about this the other day. I think it's easier today, right?
Yeah.
There's definitely, because a majority of the population is scrolling on their phones all the time. And look, I'm guilty of it. I made a post about that the other day. I was like, man, I was stupid the other night. I was scrolling and I realized it. But this is the thing, right? The difference, I can realize it and I know it's stupid. It's the person that justifies and said, oh no, I deserve to scroll or watch Netflix. Like if I do it, I'm like, this is dumb. It is wasting time and I know it.
Yeah. Oh, I've done it too.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. If you're really serious about it, there's a way that you can look at, how much time you spend in each place on your phone,
Yeah.
But if you're really serious about it, just delete those apps. And if you want to look at Facebook, install it, look at it, and then delete it again,
Yeah, there you go. There you go. But my point is, it's like there's a lot of people that are stuck in that. And, you can easily beat them by just having a little bit more intention. But then you get to like, it's interesting when you get to the other echelon.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, now, I'm trying to get to the next level now. And I'm like, okay, I need to change my operating basis. Like what I did to get here is actually not going to get me to the next level. It's actually a different level of thinking and a different level of action that I need to partake in.
Yeah.
And, in talking to people, it's just like interesting, right? So I think it's like easier than ever before because there's less competition. And I don't know. I just think if you're just starting and you really want to do it, you can do it.
Yeah. I didn't go to the Frank and Dave boot camp, but I bought their material and, I read through everything. But if you look at Frank's process, when he started, he was going to the courthouse physically and looking through books of records, finding people. Now if you have Craigslist or iCore or whatever, or Google Earth, I assigned a property like that. It was 180 lots, and it was an assignment from Google Earth. I basically zoomed in and saw the guy's number, and I called it. It was a year later before it happened, but it was just
wow.
I never even saw the property.
Wow.
So it's there. It's easy. It's easier. Like you said, it's just, are you willing to do it or not?
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm trying to think of the little quote I had heard today, but it's talking about, and I'm going to end on this because this is good, guys. This is freaking good. I think I posted something about this. If you want to follow me on social media, I'm posting funny stuff. I shoot guns, I work out, do weird stuff, right? So if you want to follow me, and there's MHP advice on there. But it was talking about, like you need to keep your effort and your action level like more than you're sitting still, right?
Yeah.
And sitting still is like scrolling, watching TV, all the BS that we just talked about, right?
Yeah.
So like if you're sitting still, and here we go with the other stuff, it's like, I think that stuff was probably designed to some degree to make that like that, but it keeps you still, and it keeps you stuck, and it keeps you not exerting effort and taking action.
Yeah.
So like to stay ahead of it, so John, tell me this, a day that you were on the phone and you knew that you hit the goal of calls that you wanted to make, you had great calls. How good did you feel at the end of the day?
It feels really good. If I have a task list, which I do, I make a list of things that I need to do that day, and I kind of check those boxes. Even if nothing happened, I still feel better because I went through the process.
Exactly. Now, on the days where they suck, I have these days too.
Yeah.
Where you don't make the calls that you wanted to make, or you don't. How do you feel at the end of the day?
You feel guilty, and you just feel bad. Just, man, I just wasted a day that I'm never going to get back.
Yeah. And that's, production is the basis of morale. If you're
Yep.
unhappy, it's because you're not doing anything. I mean, that's the thing, right? It's because you're not doing anything.
Yeah.
And if you get up off your ASS and take action, like, dude, you're gonna feel good, and you're gonna start to produce things, right?
Mhm.
So don't think about buying a mobile home park. Go out and do it. John, do you want to leave anybody with something, our listeners, with anything before we head out?
They say if you want to do something bad enough, you'll find a way, and if not, you'll find an excuse. So
I mean, it's so funny. People will be like, "Oh yeah, I've heard that before," but it's true. And the same person will be like, "We'll make an excuse why they don't get to make calls today."
Yeah, they'll say, "Oh, that's not true, but this is why." And what's like, well, you just proved it. You just made an excuse to why, So yeah, get rid of your excuses.
Yeah. So, anyways, guys, John, it's been a pleasure, man. I've enjoyed talking to you, dude.
Yeah,
you too. I appreciate you coming on. And how can people find you if they want to link up?
You can send me an email. It's jevans@6rockprop.com. I'm on Facebook and LinkedIn and Instagram and all that stuff.
Cool. Well, thank you guys for watching the MHP Show. If you want to reach out to me, I'm on all the social media platforms as well. If you got a property and you want to partner on it, send it over. We look at doing that in a deal that we like. Also, if you want to learn more about what we're doing at Victory Capital, check us out at victorycapital.com. And I meant this at the beginning, but we're expanding our acquisitions team right now. So we'd love to chat with you about potentially joining our acquisitions team and explain to you what that's more about. So you can reach out to me, send me a message, and our team will get that, and would love to chat with you about it. So thank you all for watching the MHP Show and listening. We will see you all next week. Peace.